Putin humiliated by Ukraine, U.S. HIMARS around Kherson, UK author. Russian forces have been publicly humiliated by Ukraine's use of U.S. supplied high-mobility artillery rocket systems, HIMARS, in Kherson, according to author Louise Mensch. Two key bridges into the Russian-occupied city of Kherson, which Kiev has been working to retake, were heavily damaged by strikes on Wednesday, the British Ministry of Defense said. Ukrainian authorities reported on Saturday that the last working bridge over the river in the region had been damaged, further crippling Russian supply lines, according to the Associated Press. Mensch, a former Conservative member of Britain's parliament, described it as the greatest tactical success in modern military history. Russian forces were successfully baited into a giant Mahdi, forced to run away, Mensch said. Newsweek could not independently verify whether any Russian forces had retreated. Alongside a video that apparently captured a HIMARS strike on the Antonivsky Road bridge, Mensch wrote, "Not only is this beautiful, accurate fire, and a total failure of @Russia air defense, it's clear at Defense U are taking no chances and ensuring the Antonovsky Bridge remains inoperable." She could not immediately be contacted for further comment. Russian and Ukrainian officials have been contacted for comment. In Saturday's update, British defense officials said the two primary road bridges giving access to the pocket of Russian-occupied territory on the west bank of the Dnipro in Kherson Oblast are now probably out of use for the purposes of substantial military resupply. The update said Russia had only made superficial repairs to the Antonivsky Bridge, which likely remains structurally undermined. A main rail bridge near Kherson was further damaged last week, according to the update. Even if Russia manages to make significant repairs to the bridges, they will remain a key vulnerability, it said. Ground resupply for the several thousand Russian troops on the West Bank is almost certainly reliant on just two pontoon ferry crossing points. That means the size of any stockpiles Russia has managed to establish on the river's West Bank is likely to be a key factor in the force's endurance. Meanwhile, Russian forces on Sunday fired rockets on the Mykolaiv region in southern Ukraine, killing at least one person. And concern is growing about the Russian-held Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest, which has been hit by shelling. Both sides have blamed the other for the shelling, which has raised alarm about the potential for a nuclear catastrophe. Mikhail Ulyanov, Russia's envoy to international organizations based in Vienna, called on Ukraine to stop attacking the plant in order to allow an inspection mission from the International Atomic Energy Agency. It is important that the Ukrainians stop their shelling of the station and provide security guarantees to members of the mission, he said, according to Russian state news agency TASS. An international team cannot be sent to work under continuous artillery shelling. On Saturday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on the Telegram messaging platform that every day the plant is occupied by Russian forces increased the radiation threat to Europe so much that even at the peak moments of the confrontation during the Cold War, this did not happen. Zelensky said Ukrainian diplomats and representatives from allied nations will do everything to ensure that the new sanctions against Russia necessarily block the Russian nuclear industry. Russian President Vladimir Putin realizes he's made a mistake with his invasion of Ukraine, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander James Stavridis said Sunday during the Katz Roundtable radio show on WABC 770 AM. Has Putin realized he made a mistake, or does he still think he did the right thing? Host John Katzimatidis asked the former NATO leader. I think in the dark, quiet hours at 2 o'clock in the morning when he wakes up, he realizes he's made a mistake. Publicly, he'll never admit that. Never. He'll continue to maintain this fiction that Ukraine is run by neo-Nazis. Ridiculous, obviously, Stavridis responded. Putin will maintain that NATO has somehow pushed him into this corner, this conflict. Everything that has happened is of Vladimir Putin's doing, to include the invasion, the sanctions that have followed, the military pushback. I think he knows it in his heart, he'll never admit it publicly, he continued. Stavridis was also asked when he thinks that war would conclude. He said both sides are at least 6 months away from coming up with a solution. However, he said what's driving us toward a negotiation are the difficulties Putin is facing as he burns through troops and the destruction of Russian military equipment. He is burning through capability. I'd say, 6 months from now he's going to be in very dire straits, the former NATO leader said of Putin. On the other side of the battlefield, Zelensky has to recognize that the patience of the West and the continued flow of cash and weapons is not infinite. I think both those factors will ultimately drive the sides to come to some kind of negotiation. In an interview last month, Stavridis said he believed the Russia-Ukraine war would likely end in 4 to 6 months, and have a conclusion similar to the Korean War. I see this one headed toward a Korean War ending, which is to say an armistice, a militarized zone between the two sides, ongoing animosity, kind of a frozen conflict. Look for that in a 4 to 6 month period. Neither side can sustain it much beyond that, he said at the time. In an interview last week, Kurt Volker, a distinguished fellow at the Center for European Policy Analysis, CEPA, and former U.S. Special Representative for Ukraine negotiations, said he believed Russia is in a weak position in the war, citing military losses and political isolation. Putin handed devastating hammer blow to troops' morale as Ukraine breaches Russia defenses. Putin's defense forces have been put into question as speculation grows over Ukraine's ability to penetrate into super-protected Crimea. Russia was reported to have suffered severe losses after a yet-to-be-claimed attack last Tuesday caused severe damage to Saki Air Base in Crimea. Ukraine was coy about the strike, suggesting it was the result of an accident caused by Russian troops. Ukrainian reporter Ilya Ponomarenko, who believes Kiev to be behind the Saki attack, argued the strike was a devastating blow to Vladimir Putin as it showed the weaknesses of Russian defenses. Speaking to Times Radio, Mr. Ponomarenko said, "It's a very serious success, especially find the fact that over the last few years Russia has been turning the Crimean Peninsula in one giant, super-protected military base, like an aircraft carrier that cannot be sunk. So Russia bolstered its protection that stretches from an underwater area to open space. So it is a very big question and information that Ukraine managed to penetrate its air defenses, its ground defenses and inflict such a devastating attack. It's a devastating effect in terms of the material losses, of human losses, to the Russian military." He added, "But also it's a huge blow to morale and the question behind the competence of the Russian defense. It's striking the very heart of the most sensitive place of Russian defenses." Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said he believes anyone's manual of war would deem the Crimean Peninsula, which was annexed by Moscow in 2014, legitimate target for Ukraine to strike. Mr. Wallace said it was very early days and the UK would see what information comes out about the incident at the Saki Air Base. He told the BBC, "We've pretty much dismissed most of the Russian, I think, excuses, everything from a cigarette butt, I think was one of them, that might have set off 2 simultaneous large explosions.